by Gavanen. My name is Josh, and this is the second episode of my series on reading the Silmarillion. Just like before, I will be reading the chapters as I go through the Silmarillion. For those of you who don't know what the Silmarillion is, think of it like as the Bible, but for Middle-earth. I know it's a simplistic way of seeing it, but that's what it is, essentially. But yeah, I'll be going through reading it and then kind of stopping at certain points and kind of explaining what the hell I just read, because I know that for some of you, reading the Silmarillion is kind of difficult and very hard to get through, which I understand, and I completely do not begrudge you for that. But yeah, anyways, chapter 2 of the Silmarillion is the Valaquenta. So before I get into the reading, to kind of recap for everyone who has not read or watched the first episode of this reading series, basically what happened in the first chapter was the creation of Arda, the world, and Ea, the universe. So yeah, let us continue with chapter 2, Valaquenta. Valaquenta, account of the Valar and Maiar according to the lore of the Eldar. Wait, shit. I forgot one thing. I'm so sorry. For those of you who have liked and commented on the video from a month ago, thank you so much for that, because I am trying to get my YouTube channel up to be more, popping and whatnot, as the saying goes, but with limited resources, it's not going so well, but I'm just being patient and whatnot. Also, forgive me if I sound a little off today, because I'm trying to get over migraine, eye pain, throat pain, chest pain, basically pain all over, so if I sound a little off, I do apologize for that. Yeah, anyways, continuing on. Now, where were we? Valaquenta, account of the Valar and Maiar according to the lore of the Eldar. Wait. Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute, I read this before. What the heck? No, I did not. I did not. Okay, so, sorry, minor setback. Here we go. For reals this time. In the beginning, Eru, the one who in the Elvish tongue is named Iluvatar, made the Ainur of his thought, and they made a great music before him. In this, the music of the world was begun. For Iluvatar made visible the song of the Ainur, and they beheld it as a light in the darkness. And many among them became enamored of its beauty and of its history, which they saw beginning and unfolding as in a vision. Therefore, Iluvatar gave to their vision being, and set it amid the void. And the secret fire was sent to burn at the heart of the world, and it was called Ea. Now, as a refresher, for those of you who do not know what Eru, Ainur, music of the world, the secret fire, the void, and Ea are, I will go through those quickly. Eru is essentially like the Judeo-Christian God, as Tolkien was a devout Catholic, and The Lord of the Rings is pretty understandably seen as a Catholic work. He is the Judeo-Christian God. The Ainur are the angels, again from the Judeo-Christian tradition. The music of the world is essentially creation. this secret fire is, it's essentially like the power of creativity. Some people have said that. I've always seen it as like the spirit of Eru, or the spirit of God in the world, which is pretty neat. The void is, think of it like hell, but not hell, if that makes sense. I never understood the idea of hell, being as I'm a Jew, so I don't know. Oh, yeah. Little tangent. Sorry, I know some of you may be wondering why my hair is blonde. I will explain that at the end of the video, so keep watching towards the end. And Ea is the world that's Eru and the Maiar created, so yeah. Anyways, continuing on. Then those of the Ainur who desired it arose and entered into the world, and at the beginning of time. And it was their task to achieve it, and by their labors fulfill the vision which they had seen. Long they labored in the regions of Ea, which are vast beyond the thoughts of elves, the firstborn, and men, the secondborn. Then they put on the raiment of earth, and descended into it, and dwelt therein. Now, if you may remember from the last video that I did of the reading series, you will know that I said that the Maiar who went into Arda, before they didn't have a gender, so to speak, as they could always, as they could be understood to be all male at the beginning when they was in the timeless halls of Iluvatar and whatnot. But upon coming down to Arda, they can actually change their physical form. So you could have like a male and a female. So cool. Although I don't know if it's specifically just male and female for the Maiar, because like I could totally see one Maiar, like one of the unnamed Maiar, like potentially being, you know, like non-binary, but that's something I'm not too knowledgeable about that. I'm not exactly a Tolkien expert when it comes to that field, so yeah, I will just leave it at that. But anyways, of the Valar, the great among these spirits the elves called the Valar, the powers of Arda, and men have often called them gods. Notice here, if you're reading along with me, that that the word gods has a little g. Now, to kind of get into the whole criticism, I guess you could say, of Tolkien writing a Catholic work that could be seen as having polytheism written in, I will explain it as I was, had it explained to me. Eru is, the OG god, no other gods before, Eru in Middle-earth. The Valar are like the archangels. So, if we were to put this into Judeo-Christian terms, you have God, well, if you're putting this into Christian terms, you have God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. If you have, if you're going with the traditional Jewish, line of thinking, you have God and all of his wisdom and his spirit, which is the secret fire, which is within God. Then you have the archangels, which both the Jewish thought line of thought and the Christian line of thought combines there with the archangels. And then you have the regular angels. Like, you have the... God, it's been so long since I've been to a synagogue. You have the messenger angels, the seraphim, the Ophanim, and all the other angels. I'm sorry, I am, like, running on fumes with, like, not feeling well, so that's why I haven't been doing much lately with both college and outside of college stuff. I hope y'all can forgive me for that. But yeah, basically, you can either think of it like in the Judeo-Christian line of thinking, or you can have the Judeo-Christian thinking of God at least, and then like the Valar you can think of like as the Greco-Roman pantheon, because it actually does talk about the Valar in this section, so let me continue. The lords of the Valar are 7, and the Valir, the queens of the Valar, are 7 also. These were their names in the Elvish tongue as it was spoken in Valinor, though they have other names in the speech of the elves in Middle-earth, and their names of men are manifold. The names of the lords are in due order are Manwë, Ulmo, Aule, Orome, Mandos, Lorien, and Tulkas. And the names of the queens are Varda, Yavanna, Niena, Este, Vaere, Vana, and Nessa. Now here is where we get a little bit of information, because originally when the Valar came to Middle-earth, there was one among them that's no longer counted among them. Now, if you remember from the first episode, you may remember a guy by the name of Melkor. Melkor was the guy that was like, yeah, you guys are singing stuff, but I want to create stuff too. Let me go to the void and try to find the secret fire. And when he couldn't find it, he was like, yeah, frig it. You know what? I'm just gonna corrupt some of you guys to sing to my tune, because the rest of y'all just suck. So, basically, let me just adjust this a little bit better. Or, you know what? Yeah. So basically, Melkor's that guy that's like, you know what? You guys are doing okay, but y'all don't know anything like I do, so I'm just gonna do my thing. He's like a petty bitch in that way, and I do apologize for swearing. I try hard not to in my videos, but it happens. Anyways, Melkor is counted no longer among the Valar, and his name is not spoken upon earth. Keep that in mind, because going forward, Melkor is going to be a pain in the literal ass. Like, no kidding. Anyways, Manwë and Melkor were brethren in the thought of Iluvatar. The mightiest of those Ainur who came into the world was in his beginning Melkor, but Manwë is dearest to Iluvatar and understands most clearly his purposes. So Melkor in Tolkien's universe is essentially like the idea of Satan, or as the Christians would call him, the devil. Manwë is like the Archangel Michael. He was appointed to be, in the fullness of time, the first of all kings, lord of the realm of Arda, and ruler of all that dwell within. In Arda, his delights is in the winds and the clouds, and in the regions of the air, from the heights of the... Let me read that. Sorry. In Arda, his delight is in the winds and the clouds, and in the regions of the air, from the heights to the depths. Depths. There we go. From the utmost borders of the Vale of Arda, to the breezes that blow in the grass. Sulimo, he is surnamed, Lord of the Breath of Arda. Now, the Vale of Arda... Okay, so, to briefly explain what the Vale of Arda is, Arda at this time is like a flat planet. Yes, I know there's going to be some people that are going to be in the comments that are saying, so the Earth is flat, right? Put a pin on that for quite a bit of chapters because, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Just put a pin on that. The Vale of Arda. So you have Arda here, you have the air, and then off to the side here is where the universe is. So the universe is like, it's like the atmosphere of Arda, and then like past that is where the void is, essentially, from my understanding. I could be wrong. If anyone here feels that I got that wrong, please comment that below, because I like to learn more about the lore as well as, like, you know, make sure that I get the facts right. The breath of Arda, I've always understood that to be the breath of God. Like, whenever, like, in the Bible there's like a strong wind and whatnot that's like that goes through, like, with, for an example, like with the Exodus and whatnot, I've always seen that, like, the strong wind that blew the sea back to let the Hebrew people, like, flee from Egypt to the desert on the opposite side of where Egypt is. I've always seen that as the breath of God, like, blowing the waters back, and then when it stops and lets it come back in, and then again when the Hebrews are crossing over from Jordan into the Promised Land, when Joshua, like, is leading them. Yeah, that's kind of like where I'm getting that from. I know there's something else that I'm trying to remember here. Damn it. I forget. I'm sorry. If I remember, I will bring it up. Anyways. All swift birds, strong of wing, he loves, and they come and go at his bidding. With Manwë dwells Varda, Lady of the Stars, who knows all the regions of Ea. Too great is her beauty to be declared in the words of men or of elves, for the light of Iluvatar lives still in her face. In light is her power and her joy. Out of the deeps of Ea she comes to the aid of Manwë. For Melkor she knew from before the making of the music and rejected him, and he hated her and feared her more than all others from whom Ea. Let me reread that. Out of the deeps of Ea she came to the aid of Manwë. For Melkor she knew from before the making of the music and rejected him. Insert rejected meme. And he hated her and feared her more than all others whom Eru made. So, what this means is that when Eru created the Maiar, before the strongest of them became the Valar, Melkor was like, hey, Varda, you know, you're looking pretty pretty. You wanna come over to my side and rule, like, in, like, the state of Eru and whatnot? She was like, no. Like, get away from me, Melkor. I don't like you. And I think that you're, like, very evil, so, nah. So from that point, Melkor was like, no, fuck you, Varda. Like, literally, Melkor is like a bully. He's literally a bully in Middle-earth. But you'll find out more within the Silmarillion, but let's continue. Manwë and Varda are seldom parted, and they remain in Valinor. Their halls are above the everlasting snow, upon Oyolase, the uttermost tower of Taniquetil, tallest of all the mountains upon earth. Now, if you have an atlas or a map of Middle-earth, and you look at Valinor, you'll probably see, like, there's a mountain range called the Pelori. We'll actually get to, like, how they was created, as well as some of the other ranges of Middle-earth within the Silmarillion itself. So, just put a pin on that one as well. And also, Taniquetil is, think of it like Mount Everest, but bigger than Mount Everest. So, yeah. Let me see. When Manwë there ascends his throne and looks forth, if Varda is beside him, he sees further than all other eyes, through mist and through darkness, and over the leagues of the sea. And if Manwë is with her, Varda hears more clearly than all other ears the sound of voices that cry from east to west, from the hills and the valleys, and from the dark places that Melkor has made upon earth. Of all the great ones who dwell in this world, the elves hold Varda the most in reverence and love. Elbereth, they name her, and they call upon her out of the shadows of Middle-earth, and uplift in Elbereth they name her, and they call upon her name out of the shadows of Middle-earth, and uplift it in song at the rising of the stars. Now, for those of you who have read The Lord of the Rings, you may know of the name Elbereth. And for those of you who do not know, you will actually read it along with me when I get to The Lord of the Rings, because, like I said in my first video, I'm doing a reading of the Silmarillion, the Unfinished Tales, which will be the next one on the list, followed by the Children of Húrin, sorry, I always have to get that right. Then I will go into The Hobbit, and finally, the bad boy itself, The Lord of the Rings. So, if you do not understand who Elbereth is, or any other concepts within Middle-earth, do not panic. I will get to that as the reading series continues, because I really want to help people get a better understanding of the lore and a love for the lore, because it is actually really fascinating and cool and even beautiful in some aspects. However, I will say there are some stories within the Silmarillion and the Children of Húrin which are very dark, so foreshadowing. Ulmo is the Lord of Waters. Now, for those of you who are vastly knowledgeable in Greco-Roman mythology, Poseidon. Ulmo is Poseidon, essentially. He is alone. He dwells nowhere long, but moves as he will, in all the deep waters of the earth or under the earth. He is next in might to Manwë, and before Valinor was made, he was closest to him in friendship. But thereafter he went seldom to the councils of the Valar, unless great matters were in debate. For he kept all Arda in thought, and he has no need of any resting place. Moreover, he does not love to walk upon land, and will seldom clothe himself in a body after the manner of his peers. If the children of Eru beheld him, they would be filled with a great dread, for the arising of the king of the sea was terrible as a mounting wave that strides to the land, with dark helm, foam-crested, and raiment of mail shimmering from silver down into shadows of green. The trumpets of Manwë are loud, but Ulmo's voice is deep as the deeps of the ocean, which he only has seen. Okay, so Ulmo is essentially Poseidon, like I said before, but he is the second strongest of the Valar after Manwë, since, nobody considers Melkor to be considered among the Valar because Melkor's an asshat. So, nonetheless, Ulmo loves both elves and men, and never abandoned them, not even when they lay under the wrath of the Valar. We will get to that. At times he will come unseen to the shores of Middle-earth, or pass far inland upon firths of the sea, and there make music upon his great horns, the Ulumuri, that were wrought of white shells. Hold on. Gotta see what's going on here. That was odd. Give me half a second here, y'all. Ow, son of a... No, I don't want to close anything. No, I don't want that. Okay, that was odd. Also, give me half a second. Got a message. Damn it. Sorry, give me half a second here, y'all. Okay, let me get it back set up here. Okay. So, where was I? Oh, yeah. And those to whom that music comes, hear it ever after in their hearts, and longing for the sea never leaves them again. But mostly Ulmo speaks to those who dwell in Middle-earth with voices that have heard only as the music of water. For all seas, lakes, rivers, fountains, and springs are his government, so that the elves say that the spirit of Ulmo runs in all the veins of the world. Thus news comes to Ulmo, even in the deeps, of all the needs and griefs of Arda, which otherwise would be hidden from Manwë. Aule has might little less than Ulmo. Now, Aule is an interesting character. We'll learn a little bit more about him here, but we'll also learn about him a little bit more about him in the next section, I believe. Not section. in Chapter 2 of the Silmarillion. But to give you a basic idea of who he is, think of him like the Greco-Roman god of forging and whatnot. I believe in Greek mythology that was... I'm drawing a blank. If anyone knows their Greco-Roman mythology, can you comment down the name of that god in the comment section so that I don't feel like a dumbass? Yeah. Anyways, his lordship is over all the substances. Sorry. Of which Arda is made. In the beginning, he wrought much in fellowship with Manwë and Olmo, and the fashioning of all lands was his labor. He is a smith and a master of all crafts, and he delights in works of skill, however small, as much as in the mighty gold that is fair in the hand, no less than the walls of the mountains and the basins of the sea. The Noldor, which is one of the tribes of the elves, which we'll learn about a little later in the Silmarillion, learned most of him, and he was ever their friend. Melkor was jealous of him, for Aule was most like himself in thought and in powers, and there was long strife between them, in which Melkor ever marred or undid the works of Aule, and Aule grew weary in repairing the tumults and disorders of Melkor. Both also desired to make things of their own that should be new and unthought of by others, and delighted in the praise of their skills. Now, while I am replying to my friend here, let me just do that really quick. And then let me put this back up here. Oh shit. Ah! Nani? Okay, so a little bit of information about Melkor and Aule. Not any spoilers, of course, but Melkor has power from all aspects of Eru's mind, but he's not as strong or powerful or more powerful than Eru. Each of the Valar comes from a different aspect of Eru's mind. So, like, for an example, compassion comes from like the part of the brain of Eru that is like for compassion. So that's where you get Nienna. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry. My brain is like blanking right now, and with me not feeling well, it kind of makes me meh. So I do apologize for that. But Aule remained faithful to Eru and submitted all that he did to his will. And he did not envy the works of others, but sought and gave counsel. Whereas Melkor spent all his spirit in envy and hate, until at last he could make nothing save... Ow! Shit. Bit my inside cheek. I hate that so much. Whereas Melkor spent his spirit in envy and hate, until at last he could make nothing save in mockery of the thought of others, and all their works he destroyed if he could. The spouse of Aule is Yavanna, the giver of fruits. Also in Chapter 2 we will learn more about Yavanna, but here's a little brief overview of her. She is the lover of all things that grow in the earth, and all their countless forms she holds in... Sorry. She is the lover of all things that grow in the earth, and all the countless forms she holds in her mind. From the trees like towers in forests long ago, to the moss upon stones, or the small and secret things in the mold. In reverence, Yavanna is next to Varda among the queens of the Valar. In the form of a woman, she is tall and robed in green, but at times she takes other forms. Some there are who have seen her standing like a tree up under heaven, crowned with the sun, and from all its branches there are spilled a golden dew upon the barren earth. And it grew green like with corn. But the roots of the tree were in the waters of Ulmo, and the winds of Manwë spoke in its leaves. Kementari, Queen of the Earth, she is surnamed in the Eldarin tongue. The Feanturi, Masters of Spirits, are brethren, and they are called most often Mondos and Lorien. Now, quick sidetrack. You may have heard of the place in Lord of the Rings called Lothlorien or Lorien. That place actually gets its name from the Vala who is named most often Lorien. Yet these are rightly the names of the places of their dwelling. And their true names are Namo, which is Mondos, and Irmo, who is Lorien. Namo the Elder dwells in Mondos, which is westward in Valinor. He is the keeper of the houses of the dead and the summoner of the spirits of the slain. Mandos is basically like Hades from Greco-Roman mythology. He forgets nothing, and he knows all things that shall be, save only that those that lie still in the freedom of Iluvatar. Shit, sorry. He is the doomsman of the Valar, but he pronounces his dooms and his judgments only at the bidding of Manwë. Vaere the Weaver is his spouse, who weaves all things that have ever been in time into her. Hold on, let me reread. Vaere the Weaver is his spouse, who weaves all things that have ever been in time into her storied webs, and the halls of Mandos that ever widen as the ages pass are clothed with them. Irmo the Younger is the master of visions and dreams. In Lorien are his gardens, in the land of the Valar, and they are the fairest of all places in the world, filled with many spirits. Este the Gentle, healer of hurts and of weariness, is his spouse. Grey is her raiment, and rest is her gift. She walks not by day, but sleeps upon an island in the tree-shadowed lake of Lorelin. From the fountains of Irmo and Este, all those who dwell in Valinor draw refreshment. And often the Valar come themselves to Lorien, and there find repose and easing of the burden of Varda. So, the Feanturi brothers, Mondos and Lorien, have a sister who is called Este. Those three basically dwell within the same location, if I'm not mistaken, because of like their proximity to like the Gardens of Lorien and the Halls of Mandos. Yeah. No, wait, no, never mind. Este's not the sister of the Feanturi. That is... Hold on, let me answer my friend really quick. Because reasons. I do apologize. Sorry. Oh, fuck. Okay. Este is... I'm presuming she's like a friend of the Fantori and their actual sister. My bad for getting that mixed up. The book actually corrected me like right as I was about to continue on. But anyways. Mightier than Este is Nienna, the sister of the Fantori. She dwells alone. She is acquainted with grief and mourns for every wound that Arda has suffered in the marring of Melkor. So great was her sorrow, as the music unfolded, that her song turned into Let me try that again. So great was her sorrow, as the music unfolded, that her song turned to lamentation, long before its end, and the sound of mourning was woven into the themes of the world before it began. But she does not weep for herself, and those who hearken to her learn pity. And learn pity, and endurance of hope. So, Nienna is basically like the Valier, who basically is like crying all the time, but is weeping not for herself, but for the hurts that Melkor kind of did and fucked around with on Arda because he's a jackass. Yeah. Let me just get done with that. Okay. Okay. Her halls are west of west, upon the borders of the world, and she comes seldom to the city of Valimar, where all is glad. She goes rather to the halls of Mandos, which are near to her own, and all those who wait in Mandos cry to her, for she brings strength to the spirits and turns sorrow into wisdom. Her windows and the windows of her house look outward from the walls of the world. Greatest in strength and deeds of prowess is Tulkas, who is surnamed Astaldo, the Valiant. He came last to Arda to aid the Valar in the first battles with Melkor. Now, before I continue, Tulkas, think of him like a WWE superstar or some other professional wrestler guy. He's strong, loves to wrestle, and yeah, he's basically a badass. So, he delights in wrestling and in contents. Retrying that again. He delights in wrestling and in contests of strength. And he rides no steed, for he can outrun all things that go on foot. And he is tireless. Like, literally. Think of Tulkas like as a wrestling dude who has the energy of the Energizer Bunny. But it does not end. So if you piss him off, and you are trying to outrun him, he will find you, and he will kick your ass. Moreover than, like, say, you know, trying to kick someone's ass who, like, doesn't feel pain. I guess. I don't know. His hair and beard are golden, and his flesh ruddy. His weapons are his hands. You know what they say about someone who is, like, trained in martial arts? Don't fuck with them. Because their hands, their feet, and every part of their body that is trained in martial arts is a deadly weapon. PSA, do not fuck with anyone who's, like, trained in martial arts. He has little heed for either the past or the future, and is of no avail as a counselor, but as a hearty friend. So basically, like, he doesn't care about the past or the future. And he doesn't really give out advice, per se, but he is a very trusty friend. If you are a friend of Tulkas, and you get into a situation, he will back you up and be like, hey, stop fucking around, asshole. Now his spouse is Nessa, the sister of Orome. And she is also... and she also is lithe and fleet-footed. Deer love her, and they follow her train whenever she goes into the wild. But she can outrun them, swift as an arrow, with the wind in her hair. In dancing she delights, and she dances in Valimar on lawns of never-fading green. So she's like the weakest of the Valar, in my opinion, because like, all she really does is dance. So, there's that. Now, here's my favorites of the Valar. Well, after Ulmo. Orome is a mighty lord. If he is less strong than Tulkas, he is more dreadful in anger. Whereas Tulkas laughs ever in the sport or in war, and even in the face of Melkor, he laughed in battles before the elves were born. Orome loved the lands of Middle-earth, and he left them unwillingly and came last to Valinor. And often of old he passed back east over the mountains and returned with his host to the hills and the plains. He is a hunter of monsters and fell beasts, and he delights in horses and in hounds, and all trees he loves, for which reason he is named Aldaron, and by the Sindar Tauron, the Lord of Forests. Nahar is the name of his horse, white in the sun, shining silver at night. The Valaroma is the name of his great horn, the sound of which is like the upgoing of the sun in scarlet, or the sheer lightning cleaving the clouds. Above all the horns of his host, it is heard in the woods that Yavanna brought forth in Valinor. For there Orome would train his folk and his beasts for the pursuits of the evil creatures of Melkor. Now, Orome, much like Tulkas, is a badass. He may not be physically strong like Orome. Not Orome. He may not be physically strong as Tulkas, but goddamn, Orome is like fiercely like protective of all that is good and green in the world. He is protective of elves, especially later when we get to that chapter, so no spoilers. You sneaky people. But yeah, he is a badass. You do not want to piss off Orome or Tulkas, or actually any of the Valar. Don't just don't piss off the Valar. Don't piss off God. Don't piss off Eru. The spouse of Orome is Vana, the Everyoung. She is the younger sister of Yavanna. All flowers spring as she passes, and open if she glances upon them, and all birds sing at her coming. These are the names of the Valar and the Valier, and here is told in brief their likenesses, such as the Eldar beheld them in Aman. Aman is just another name for Valinor. But fair and noble as were the forms in which they were manifest to the children of Luvatar, they were but a veil upon their beauty and their power. And if little is here said of all that the Eldar once knew, that is nothing compared with their true being, which goes back into the regions and ages far beyond our thought. Among them 9 were of chief power and reverence, but 1 is removed from their number, and 8 remain, the Aratar, the High Ones of Arda. Manwë and Varda, Ulmo, Yavanna and Aule, Mandos, Niana, and Orome. Though Manwë is their king and holds their allegiance under Eru, in majesty they are peers, surpassing beyond compare all others, whether of the Valar and the Maiar, or of any other order that Iluvatar has sent into Ea. Okay. Now we come to the section known as Of the Maiar. With the Valar came other spirits whose being also began before the world, of the same order as the Valar, but of less degree. These are the Maiar, the people of the Valar, and their servants and their servants and helpers. Their number is not known to the elves, and few have names in any of the tongues of the children of Iluvatar. For though it was otherwise in Aman, in Middle-earth the Maiar have seldom appeared in form visible to elves and men. Chief among the Maiar of Valinor, whose names are remembered in the histories of the elder days, are Ilmare, the handmaid of Varda, and Eonwe, the banner-bearer and herald of Manwë, whose might in arms is surpassed by none in Arda. But of all the Maiar, Ose and Uinen are best known to the children of Iluvatar. Ose is a vassal of Ulmo, and he is master of the seas that wash the shores of Middle-earth. He does not go in the deeps, but loves the coasts and the isles, and rejoices in the winds of Manwë. For in storm he delights, and laughs amid the roaring of the waves. His spouse is Uinen, the Lady of the Seas, whose hair lies spread through all waters under sky. All creatures she loves that live in the salt streams, and all weeds that grow there. To her mariners cry, for she can lay calm upon the waves, restraining the wildness of Orome. Not Orome, Ose. God, I get those two names mixed up. I am so sorry. The Númenóreans, which we will learn about later in this tale, lived long in her protection, and held her in reverence equal to the Valar. Melkor hated the sea, for he could not subdue it. It is said that in the making of Arda, he endeavored to draw Ose to his allegiance, promising to him all the realm and power of Ulmo, if he would serve him. So it was that long ago there arose great tumults in the sea that wrought ruin to the lands. But Uinen, at the prayer of Aule, restrained Ose and brought him before Ulmo, and he was pardoned and returned to his allegiance, to which he remained faithful for the most part. For the delights and violence has never wholly departed from him, and at times he will rage in his willfulness without any command from Ulmo his lord. Therefore those who dwell by the sea or go up in ships may love him, but they do not trust him. So, what have we learned today, kids? Or audience, I should say. If you live by the sea, and if you live by, like, an island or something, and you're in Middle-earth, you may love Ose, but don't trust him. Like, just don't. And we have yet another one. Melian was the name of a Maya who served both Vanna and Este. She dwelt long in Lorien, tending the trees that flower in the gardens of Yermo, ere she came to Middle-earth. Nightingales sang about her wherever she went. Now, we will learn a little bit more of Melian as the Silmarillion continues, but keep that name in mind. Wisest of the Maiar was Olorin, or Olorin. He too dwelt in Lorien, but his ways took him often to the house of Nienna, and of her he learned pity and patience. Of Melian much is told in the Quenta Silmarillion, but of Olorin the tale does not speak, for though he loved the elves, he walked among them unseen, or in form as one of them, and they did not know whence came the fair visions or the promptings of wisdom that he put into their hearts. In later days he was a friend of all the children of Iluvatar, and took pity on their sorrows, and those who listened to him awoke from despair and put away the imaginations of darkness. So, y'all may be wondering, who is Olorin? Well, have I got a surprise for you. Olorin is Gandalf. Yes. So when Gandalf was in Valinor and whatnot, he was known as Olorin. But we will find out more about that later in the Silmarillion. So, keep that in mind. But, little surprise. Of the enemies, last of all is set the name of Melkor, he who arises in might. But that name he has forfeited, and the Noldor who among the elves suffered most from his malice will not utter it, and they name him Morgoth, the dark enemy of the world. Great might was given to him by Iluvatar, and he was co-evil with Manwë. In the powers and knowledge of all the other Valar he had parts, but he turned them to evil purposes, and squandered his strength in violence and tyranny. For he coveted Arda and all that was in it, desiring the kingship of Manwë, and dominion over the realms of his peers. From splendor he fell through arrogance to contempt for all things save himself, a spirit wasteful and pitiless. Anybody ring that spell? 'Cause if I'm remembering this correctly from my reading of the Hebrew Bible and of my understanding of the Christian religion, the prophet Isaiah talked about the fallen one being prideful and arrogant and trying to be like God and whatnot. How does that verse go? Oh, how you have fallen, Lucifer, son of the morning, how you have been cut to the ground, you who deceived the nations. Yeah, that verse. Basically, Melkor is like the devil, if you want to go with the Judeo-Christian idea. Although, I don't think we have a concept of the devil in Judaism. It's been a long time since I've been to synagogue, so please forgive me. Let me see. Where the hell did I... Okay. Understanding he turned to subtlety and perverting to his own will all that he would use, until he became a liar without shame. He began with the desire of light, but when he could not possess it for himself alone, he descended through fire and wrath into a great burning, down into darkness. And darkness he used most in his evil works upon Arda, and filled it with fear for all living things. Yet so great was the power of his uprising that in ages forgotten, he contended with Manwë and all the Valar, and through long years in Arda held dominion over most of the lands of the earth. But he was not alone, for the Maiar many were drawn to his splendor. For of the Maiar many were drawn to his splendor in the days of his greatness, and remained in that allegiance down into his darkness. And others he corrupted afterwards into his service, with lies and treacherous gifts. dreadful among these spirits were the Valorokar, the scourges of fire that in Middle-earth were called Balrogs, demons of terror. Now, quick side note, the Balrog that is in Moria is one of these Balrogs. We will learn more about the Balrogs, I believe, in a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. If not, in the lore, I will say it's kind of a tricky subject about how many there were, because some say that there were like no more than 3, at most 7. But in some of Tolkien's earlier writings, there was like more than 7, so I'm kind of the opinion that there is more than 7. But by the time that the War of Wrath came around, which is at the end of the Quenta Silmarillion, within the Silmarillion, I think that by that time, the Balrogs are like down to like at most 4 or 3, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, among those of his servants that have names, the greatest was that spirit whom the Eldar called Sauron, or Gorthaur the Cruel. Now, many of you might remember the name of Sauron because he was the Lord of the Rings, which we will get to in the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Rings. I think he's also mentioned in The Hobbit, but I'm not sure. I do know that he's mentioned in the standalone book, the Beren and Luthien, but I don't have that book, so when I get that copy, my copy of the book, I will do a reading series of that as well. But anyways, in his beginning, he was the Maiar of Aule, and he remained mighty in the lore of that people. In all the deeds of Melkor, that the Morgoth upon Arda, in his vast works, and in the deceits. Let me retry that. In all of the deeds of Melkor, the Morgoth upon Arda, in his vast works and in the deceits of his cunning, Sauron had a part, and was only less evil than his master, in that for long he served another and not himself. But in after years, he rose like a shadow of Morgoth, and a ghost of his malice, and walked behind him on the same ruinous path, down into the void. Here ends the Valaquenta. So, with that being said, I have a feeling that y'all are gonna be asking me, Josh, what happened to your hair? Why is it blonde? Why? And to give you an honest answer, I've always wanted to see myself as blonde, so I tried it out, see if I liked it. I actually like it pretty well. I just don't like that my hair is curly, but beggars can't be choosers. But anyways, that was the video for tonight. I'm gonna try to make these a little bit more frequently, but the next 2 weeks are gonna be kind of busy because I'm trying to catch up in college because I haven't been feeling well. Internet's been kind of down, and yeah, it's just not fun. What? Shit, fuck. Sorry. Also, I want to say right now that I am... How do I say this? Shit, I forgot what I was about to say. Fuck, I'm sorry. Anyways, I will get this uploaded as quickly as I can. I'm using my tablet, so it might take a bit, so I do apologize, so bear with me, please. Anyways, I hope you all are doing well. Have a wonderful night. May God bless you. I will see you next time when we go into the Silmarillion. Bye-bye!